In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.
One of the things that happens during this time period as we approach Great Lent is that we hear these wonderful gospel readings. And so we have two things to contemplate in our hearts today. We have one of the scribes and the Pharisees and the various people who prefer the highest seats, prefer to be praised by men, prefer the praise of men over the praise of God, over praising God. And of course, then the people that of their riches cast in, but this woman hath cast in all that she had to the offering plate, you might say. And so this woman has gained greater favor with God because of her humility, because she understood that God is the bestower of all things and the giver of good things. We have a tendency to maybe sometimes be too good of bookkeepers in our own living. We spend our living on the things that we like and the things that we treasure personally, and that's why there's always on Saturdays so many garage sales, because people have spent their time going around, buying and purchasing and having more and more and more. And so the fact that they need to tear down their barns to raise up new ones to put all their stuff in, then they have to go and put stuff in storage, and they have to go put maybe two storages, and this constant desire and need to have more than we need, but not doing the things that we have greater need of, which is to cast in all our penury to support the work of the homeless, to support the work of the church, to help build churches, to those things. These are the things that we need to give our life to. We need to give our life as a ransom to that, to give it to God in such a way that we just do His will. But to do His will means to cast in all your penury. In other words, we always say, well, 10% is worth giving, but 100% is better. 90% really good. 80%. And you see, when Zacchaeus said that he would give half of all that he owned to the rich, to the poor, and then to anyone he had offended, he would do restore them fourfold. He went from being a man of great wealth to a man who had very little, and yet he had more, because then he was free. He was free to eventually become a bishop and serve God fully as a bishop in the Lord. And so, it's like we worry so much about money all the time in our society. We worry so much about, do I have enough to give? Can I put in? Can I give that homeless person? Can I help this person over here? We are constantly thinking first of ourselves and our comfort, and then we think of maybe, well, I can cast a few pennies their way or something. And of your wealth, you give not very much, very little compared to what you have. So, we are in this constant battle, for instance, in this church, that we like serving God here. We like it. We enjoy it. It's, during Sundays especially, very full. And we're happy about that. We think this is a great thing. And, we have a church in Marina del Rey on the west side of Los Angeles. That's good. And we're grateful to God that He bestowed His blessing on us. But we have to, now that He has bestowed His blessing on us, we have to be the ones that then go the extra mile in our giving. Go the extra mile. Give a little bit more than you may feel comfortable giving in any given moment. Because if that were your last moment, and you know that giving more would have gotten you into paradise, you would probably go, oh shoot, that happened. I was a little bit too greedy in that moment. I was too gluttonous. I mean, all of us have gotten used to a style of living that is greater than most of the people in the world have. If you were to go around the world and all the places in Africa and South America and various places and see the way that they live compared to the way that we live here in Los Angeles, it's shameful almost. It's almost shameful that we have so much, and we think in the way of much. I'll give you an example. I went to back in 2000. I went to Indianapolis for a meeting, very important meeting. It's the day that I decided to join the OCA. And I've been living in California for a long time, and I had very well manicured lawn. When I owned a house, I had a very manicured lawn. So I went to Indianapolis. My friends lived in this huge, in this area where a lot of the people that go to the church lived. And so I remember stepping off the plane, getting out of the car, going into the house where I was going to stay and sleep on the couch or something for the night. And the first thing that struck me is that these people do not have very well manicured lawns. They have weeds, they have long grass, they have all stuff just laying around in the yard or whatever. And I'm going, wow. And I got really judgmental actually for a few hours. I was going, why don't they have manicured lawns? And I realized that living in Los Angeles, we live with manicured lawns, but they take a toll on our assessment of life itself. And so when I stepped back from judging so much, I remember seeing the beauty in those yards that had uneven grass maybe, or had some dandelions growing in it, or something. And then you think about Los Angeles, built on a desert practically, on a desert. And I thought, boy, I have gotten spoiled by life in Los Angeles. Everybody in Los Angeles, they have a flower garden, they have roses growing, things are blooming at the beach, they grow in sand. I mean, we take for granted the beauty of where we live. And we just start to think that, well, everybody lives this way. And so we do everything we can to support our own living, but then we forget about the living that needs to take place for others who might have greater need even than ourselves. So it's one of those things where we have an opportunity, like this widow's mite, to throw in even those 2 little pennies, our penury. We have a chance to throw that in, a little bit extra this month, a little bit extra this week, a little bit extra. What am I saving it for? I'm saving it for what? What am I saving all this money for? What am I saving all these things for? I'm saving them for myself. Or maybe I'll hand them down to the generations that come. Well, that's another place where you have garage sales, because kids who have children, and you have children, you have kids, they come, their parents pass, and they leave all this stuff. They're going to go, let's call Goodwill and get rid of it all, or let's have a garage sale. They, except for a few small items, they have no need of all this stuff that's been collected over the eons of years. And we have hardly any storage in this place, so we had to rent a storage. But when we have this storage, we pare it down all the time, because there's things we just don't need anymore, that we don't use, or we've improved upon, or something of that nature. Well, if you kind of go through your own heart and your own mind, and the greed, and spot that greed, that gluttonous attitude that you have toward things, and the worshiping of false idols, then you want to weed those out. You want to get rid of those tares. You want to just pull them out by the roots. Just keep pulling them out. You want to pull them out literally by the roots. You want to give your life in such a way as that you have no regrets when the breath leaves your lungs. My friend Manishka Mali, her husband, 4.5 years ago, he'd gone to he was 73, I think, But he had gone to a celebration at the church the night before. He was, as far as he knew, planning to get up in the morning and go to his job and do whatever else he had to do. But the problem is he laid down and went to sleep and he never woke up again. He passed that night. He passed. What an intense moment for the family to see Dad had passed. It's like when I went and took communion to a person who was close to dying, and we knew he was close to dying. We knew that death was coming upon him, so we did everything we could to prepare him for that moment of departure from this world. And he had gone through his heart and his soul and his mind and thinking and cleaned up everything that was there, and then gave him communion. Then he passed. About an hour later, he passed. He was in peace. He was quiet. I'm saying it's better to have some foresight as to when you are going to pass. Sometimes getting cancer, for instance, is the worst thing, but it's also a better thing since we're all going to pass anyway, this world, because then you have the chance and the time to prepare yourself to leave this world. So if you live each moment, each day, each hour, like it's your last, like this could be your last breath. I think I shared this with a few people, that the last time, it actually was the day of our yearly gathering. We were upstairs, we had just finished the meeting, and I drank something, and about 5 minutes later, I said to my wife, my heart's in AFib right now. It just went into AFib. It was perfectly good, perfectly fine to that very moment. And then I thought, well, okay, I'll do my usual thing. I took the medication, I did what I had to do. I went home and I rested, kept going. I went to bed, kept going. The next day, kept going. It was now about 5 o'clock at night the next day, now going into 2 days. And I started really thinking about my sister who had just passed, and she had AFib, and she went into AFib, and they couldn't get her out of it. So all my fears welled up before me. So I went into my room and I called Bishop Benjamin and I said, well, I'm in 2 days now. He said, well, get better. And I called the person I confessed to, and I gave confession over the phone. He said, hope you get better. And so then I knelt on my knees and I said, well, God, if you want me to leave this world, I'm game. Go ahead. You can take me out. It's all right. And I thought that I had more work to do here. I told him about all of you, and I said, I think they'd be sad if I left this time. I said, but it's up to you. But I said, one way or the other, this heart's got to either be an AFib or not an AFib, but do something about it. And I was actually very demanding about the Lord that moment. And I will just tell you that a miracle happened. I think it's a miracle. I said that prayer, got up, decided I would one more time check my watch to see if it was in AFib. And when I put it on there, it was boop, boop, boop. Steady as you could ever imagine. Just to say it was steady. In that one moment, it happened. And I don't really know what changed, except that maybe I was more humble. Maybe I was not so. Maybe all of your prayers reached me finally, reached God and touched my heart and soul. But I will tell you, in that moment, I was worried whether I was going to pass this world or not. Not in that very second, but that I could see it going in a downward trend, and my body functioning would get less and less. And so, but my thoughts were about all of you, because I didn't want to leave you without a father. I just didn't want to leave you all that way. So anyway, it worked out. But I'm saying that sometimes it requires all of what you have inside of you. You ask for God to pray. You ask for me to pray for you. But you have to have the guts, the courage to stand with Christ and to pray yourself. And to pray like you mean it. Well, that's what that woman, widow's mite, that's what she did. She was someone who put in all of her living, and God blessed her for it. She gave more than everyone else because she gave all of her living. Well, that's what we're constantly talking about. Put all of your living into worshiping God in fullness and truth. Hold nothing back. Support the church. Support the homeless. Support whoever you have. As long as you have a little bit of food in your apartment or house or whatever to live it, that you have a roof over your head, you have a little bit of food that you can eat every day, you have a little bit of drink every day, then you're in good shape. You have more than you need. If you have more than that, then be generous. That's the word. Be generous. So may God give us strength. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.